And so now we get to move into creating the rest of the base and the face. What's lovely about this whole thing is that I have never taught this before. So for those of you who are brand new, we're going to do something that's a very, very minimal coverage look and very high performance highlights. We want this to look as ageless as humanly possible. We want it to look as fresh and luminous as humanly possible. And your goal here is to only use as much makeup as you need to conceal the things that you don't like to see. Does that make sense? So this is what we will be using during this segment, and we're going to be building a look that is like as minimalist as possible. This is the kind of stuff that we do when I'm working on clients who do not want to look made up. First things first, let's check your skin. Big thing with doing anything with foundation is you want to make sure that your skin is like ready for it. So what I want you to do is just kind of feel your skin. Does it feel like it's dry? Does it need a little bit more primer? Do you feel like you need any more moisture? If you're someone who tends to have combo to dry skin, I want you to add more Silky Face Primer right now. If you wiped off your under eye Silky Face Primer when you did cleanup, add some back in. If you feel like you need moisturizer, you go for it. Let's prep that skin up, baby. What's your skin type? You think you're oily? Where do you get oily?
Cheeks.
Okay.
Forehead. Here.
Okay, perfect. Kind of all over, she says. Okay, so I've got Silky Face Primer on my hands, and what I'm going to be doing is working in the under eye, specifically because we did some cleanup, and if by chance her makeup remover wipe took off any of her under eye primer, I want to rehydrate that zone. The Silky Face Primer from XMH Beauty is very hydrating as far as like giving you a clean but smooth surface and minimizing the appearance of fine lines. So we're going to fill in that under eye zone. Because Ashley says that she is oily on her nose, I'm not going to pop any more Silky Face Primer anywhere on her nose. If we know that that's a spot that doesn't need more hydration because she creates her own, we're not going to add any more. Whatever I have left over, I'm going to pop it right in here in her little expression lines. We're going to soften those. My hands are freezing, huh?
Feel good.
She says they feel good. Yeah, cool. And I especially want a lot of bling in her cheeks today. So I'm going to pop a little bit out here in the cheeks. We want basically this whole zone of the cheek to be super, super hydrated going into the highlight part of today. So there we go. All right, so is everybody hydrated? Is everybody primed up? This is going to be different than any way that I've ever taught makeup before. If you're used to doing the tea with your blender, babe, we're not doing that this time. Okay? So we have dispensed her foundation onto the cap. So Ashley's got one pump on the cap. I'm going to start with one. This is a minimalist makeup look. So if you are a 3-pump girl, I'm going to challenge you today. Sometimes it's appropriate to just look dewy and fresh and like I'm 22 again. It's lovely. We're going to start with a brush today and have your damp blender babe on deck. So do we all have our damp blender babes? Everybody remembered? So what we're going to be doing is we have our foundation on a concealer brush. Does everyone know what your T-zone is? Tell me, shout it out. Your forehead, your nose, down to your chin. Great. Where's your pore zone? On the side of your nose and then into your cheeks for some people. I'm going to only be applying foundation to those zones. Don't freak out. Here we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to frame out those brows. We've done it a little bit already this morning, but if it needs any more extra framing or cleanup, we're going to pop a little bit of foundation over the brow zone. And we're going to fan it, meaning if this little dot right here in between her eyes was the sun, and the sun was doing little rays going out towards her hairline, that would be the idea. Can you see it? It's a little bit challenging because it's such a good color match on her, but it's okay. Okay, so that's as much foundation as we're putting on the forehead. We're going to go in with the blender, babe, and start dotting and rolling, just so that the foundation starts marrying with her skin and blending. She does not have foundation up here. But honestly, if you like the look of being super duper fresh and youthful and dewy, this is going to be your BFF. Whatever it takes for you to if you have a lot of redness or if you have some blemishes or something like that that you want to cover up, feel free to add a little bit more. But your goal right now is less is more. You want to look hydrated and use as little product as possible. Is this a different approach than what you're used to? Yeah. Yes, less is more. We want to look like we're like super dewy and fresh and healthy. Next, we're going to really be focusing on the T-zone. So if this whole forehead part, so if this is the capital part of the T, then the next logical move is to go down the nose using foundation. And I'm kind of picky about hitting the side of the nose, so we're going to go ahead and cover like nostrils, underneath, all that jazz. Reload your brush as needed. When it comes to work on like camera or in an office, especially if you're dealing with like weird climate like AC, or you've got that person that freezes in the office so they turn it down, and then you've got the hot flash ladies so they change it again. So you're constantly changing. The thing that happens the fastest is your nose turns red. So we want to minimize nose redness. Go ahead and get some pretty good coverage on your nose with your foundation, and then dot or roll to blend it. But keep in mind, as minimal makeup as possible. I'll have you tip your head up, like tip your chin up, and double check that you've got coverage underneath your nose. This is a commonly missed area because you typically can't see it. So make sure you get underneath your nose. That's something on video that shows up and you realize it when it's too late. Reloading my little brush here. I'm gonna go into the chin zone. So we truly have done a T across the forehead, got the nose, sides of the nose. We did underneath the nose, and when we patted, you more than likely got some coverage on the upper lip. If you need more, go for it. And then this is the bottom of our T. So go ahead and do the chin. I'm dotting kind of like back and forth to blend it out. When you've got it, raise your hand. How are you liking your class so far?
Love it.
Okay, why Glam Babe Elite? Why this event?
Oh man, I've always been like interested in makeup and always like drawn to people who have gorgeous makeup.
Yes.
And like like just being drawn to like you're just like eye-catchingly beautiful and like just gorgeous. So I've always been drawn to like gorgeous makeup, and
Awesome.
I've always wanted that like for myself, and like didn't know like how to learn how to do makeup. Like YouTube was always like super overwhelming. Like you'd go in and watch a video and they have like a million different brands of products, and you're like, OMG. Just like looking at that, you're like, holy crap, I have to spend like thousands of dollars like just to get these products. And then the videos are confusing, or they only show like one part, and like the rest of it there's like da da da, and you're like, what did they just do? Like I don't even know. So yeah, this has been amazing. I've learned so much. You teach it so like easily, like you can easily follow.
Thank you.
And like, yeah, my makeup game has changed so much. I've gotten so many compliments. Like, I'll go out, I'll be wearing like star crystals or like a smoky eye, and like me and my husband were at a winery, and they're like, these women came up to me, they're like, can we take your picture? Like, you're so beautiful. And like, I'm like, okay, like that's never happened to me before. Like, it was so random. I'm like, well, the only thing different, because I've always like loved fashion and style, is like my makeup. Like, that was like the thing that was different for me.
So by business, she's been already in the fashion and style industry. So she already had like that head on her shoulders for, you know, looking stylish. But this is kind of just up level a little bit.
Yeah.
What does the husband say?
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, he loves it. Yeah, I used to like, I don't even know what I did before, which is like crazy. I don't even know how I did my makeup before, but it was so like basic. I didn't know what I was doing with, I never did smoky eye. It was just like a little brown eyeshadow like on the eyelids.
Yep.
And so he's like, he was used to that, but now he's like, oh my gosh, like you've gotten so good at it and you look so good. He loves like a smoky eye now, so.
Game on.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's been really fun to watch her journey because she got started. It was January 1st group, right? Or was it before that?
November.
Okay,
I think
so
so.
winter time.
Yeah, winter time.
Has gone through a couple of challenges inside of Glen Babley and just has been upping her game all the time. It's fun to watch.
Thanks.
All right, are we ready to move on to another step? Don't we love her? Isn't she fabulous? So now we're going to go into the pore zone and the under eye. Shockaroo. Okay, here we go. Pore zone means this. When you're looking in the mirror, typically you've got, and she doesn't have any pores because I don't know what happened, but she's perfect.
Glycolic cleanser.
Glycolic cleanser from Glow.
Retinol.
Yeah, she burned her pores off. They're great.
Yeah.
They're gone. So we've got the nose, and now typically people have some visible pores, and we call it the pore zone. It's like a little zone right out here. Keep your eyes up here for just a second. This is what I want you to see in the under eye. We're going to stay underneath the lash line. Try not to touch your lashes with that brush. And then really important, out here in the corner, you need to scoop up and maintain that eye lift look. Turn this way for me. So right out here, my brush is going underneath the lashes and starting to scoop up towards her temple. So that if there's any eyeshadow that's down too low, we're going to erase it and make sure she has a lift going up in the corner. Can you see this lift right here, guys? Yes. Okay, cool. So once you've got that in place, you're going to grab your blender, babe, and dot and blend. Now turning side to side, like if you can go this way and then this way, can you see like the difference of just popping that little bit of coverage in the under eye? So this side has none, this side has some. So even though it's not a ton of coverage, that little bit does make a huge difference, and it just makes her look that much more polished, especially in a corporate environment. You see? Doesn't look overdone, it's just right. Okay, continuing to do that on the other side. So let's get this under eye, and then whatever's left on your cap, we have one more move with. Okay. It's like prohibition. She's hiding it. It's in secret. Yep. She's got extra under the table. It's prohibition. Awesome. It makes you look younger to do like less, which when we're talking like business, meetings, corporate type of an environment, here's the shtick. Here's the good, bad, and the ugly of it. You're looking at two scenarios. When you're talking about very photographic makeup, you need coverage. When you're gonna be like needing long wear, that makeup needs to not melt off. So you're stacking more foundation, you're pack pressing your powder. We're gonna be doing all of that tomorrow. Photographic makeup is different. The crappy part about it is if you haven't done amazing skincare or you go into the day dehydrated, your skin can look older because you have a lot of drying, dryish products that are getting layered on top of your skin. So every bit of texture that you have is going to show up. The great thing is with photography, they edit it. They airbrush it out. So you look perfect. So you have great coverage, you look flawless, and they get rid of the wrinkles for you. Versus what we're doing today, we're using less product, so you see less visible texture, especially in person for meetings. So if you have one-to-one contact with people and you don't want to look caked up and made up, remember this protocol. Less is more for this type of a situation. She's saying her clients feel like when she's this far away, she looks different, which is true. When you're like on a stage or lit, or perhaps if you have like a ring light or studio lighting, it just blurs out texture. So you look like you have no flaws, which is great, but the lighting's working with you, and if it's still photography, they're gonna edit your flaws out. So when you're going for in-person meetings, go more this route, less is more, back off on the powder, back off on the foundation, because you're gonna get a more flat, smooth, textureless outcome. So I'm really, really happy with this. The one tweak that I will give you is, say you're wearing like a collared shirt, like what I'm wearing today. Big issue that I've always had with photographic makeup or like really red carpet makeup, which we'll be doing tomorrow, is if this section of your neck doesn't match your face, it's like obvious, right? Whatever you had left on your cap, go ahead and pick it up with your blender, babe, and let's do the center of the neck. So we're not gonna do the full neckline and décolleté, just enough that if you were wearing like a collared shirt, it wouldn't ruin your shirt, but your neck and your face are buddies and they match and they look like they belong together. Great. The question was, what if you have sunspots and stuff? For this type of a look, we're not going for full coverage and it's totally okay. So if you have freckles that you can see through your makeup, awesome. If you have sunspots, no big deal. The main things that I'm looking for is redness cover up. So if you still have a lot of visible redness or visible breakouts, you can feel free to add another pump of foundation and hit those areas, but less is more. So the less that you can get away with, the better. Let's move into, we have like literally not that much foundation that we're gonna use today. We're gonna go into our concealer. You guys pick up your concealer trio and locate the darkest color or the color that has the most orange or gold tone to it. And I want you to point to that, okay? I'm holding her concealer trio, and for Ashley, this color in her concealer trio has the most peach tonality to it. So it kind of looks the darkest, but it also has the most peach undertone to it. We're not even gonna touch the lighter colors today. I have that deepest color of concealer loaded on my brush. You're hunting for what stands out to you still after your foundation is on. Think about your foundation like it's a filter. So we have Instagram, we have Snapchat, we have Facebook. When you pop a filter on, it just kind of changes the tone of your skin. So if you're very red, you can pop a filter on and it gets rid of the redness, right? Foundation is a filter. Now, if you have a scar or a giant zit, does a filter on Instagram or Facebook always get rid of it? No. So that needs a little bit more of a power tool, and that's where your concealer comes in. Your concealer corrects anything that the filter didn't cover. But we're still going with like the least product needed, minimal. I'm only putting this on Ashley. I'm just going to hit the inner corners of her eyes. Only for that whole psychological thing of if your inner corners of your eyes are bright, people look at you longer. So I'm going to hit the inner corner of her eye and kind of fan it out. So I have one brush loaded. That's all I'm going to use. If you still have, say, acne, a scar, anything that still stands out to you and it drives you nuts when you look in the mirror, you can cover it, but use the idea of only on the spot. I don't want concealer all over your face, just in that inner corner of the under eye. And then if you still have like a spot somewhere, you can hit the spot. Next thing that we want to do is we're going into our pressed powder. We call that one the boss. Why? It sets everything in place like a boss. So these are the employees. Here's employee number 1, the foundation. Employee number 2 is our concealer. And the boss comes in and says, "Great work, you're doing awesome. Stay right there until I release you at the end of the day." Right? That's the boss. We're going to load up onto our dual foundation blender brush. Looks like this, has 2 ends, and the shape of it on the end, like right up here, is the perfect shape to hug your under eye. It's like a little cone shape, and it's round, kind of soft like a teddy bear. It doesn't irritate the under eye. So I have loaded the top of this brush up with our powder. Tap off the excess. And before you ever touch this to your face, I want you to do me one solid. Take your chin, pop it down. Look into your mirror. Do you have any creasing going on in the under eye area? Has your makeup settled and creased at all? Yes. Okay, either take your fingertip or a brush and smooth that out. Because what we really, really, really want is a smooth outcome. And so we need to start with no creases in our makeup. So I do one eye at a time because I'm kind of anal about this. So I've used my fingertip and kind of pat, make sure I don't have any creases in my foundation or my concealer. Then I have my little powder brush ready to go, and I'm going to do a pat press. This is really the only zone that I use much pressure on for this whole look. And it's basically because your concealer has really a propensity, if you don't set it well, to crease within like a couple hours. So you really want to set that well and boss it into place. The dual powder, it adds coverage. So if you were looking at yourself in the mirror going like, I want a little bit more coverage in my under eye, the powder adds coverage, which is lovely. Pop your chin down, check the other side, make sure that you don't have any little creases in your concealer. And we're going to pat press our dual powder into the under eye and make sure that it's Really, really good pressure. The idea behind what we're doing right now is that we're driving powder through the concealer, through the foundation, through the primer, into the skin. So you've got to use enough pressure to push on your powder and mattify all of that. If you're wussy with this move and you don't apply enough pressure, it's going to crease within like 2 hours. So you use pressure, really pack press that. We're going to load this brush up one more time and hit the T-zone and be done. So when I say T-zone, it's like ration it like it's the Depression. We don't want a whole lot of powder going on here. You get one brush and that's all, okay? Yep, load it up. We're gonna hit over the brows. We're gonna go down the nose. If you know that you get shiny on your nose, you can pack press on the side of the nose, underneath the nostrils, hit the chin, and whatever you need to like spread out, you can go back and feather it. When we do like New York Fashion Week makeup, this is a really clean skin type of a protocol that we would do, because the models, they want them to look like they don't have makeup on, but they need makeup on because they haven't slept in 6 days. You see? So this is the protocol to get that no makeup look without looking cakey whatsoever. And I want you to pay attention to this. Where did we not put powder? Did you notice that there's not powder out here? Right? So all of this, when we pop on illuminators, remember when we put the Sugar Crush underneath the brow on wet primer and it performed like pow, it bounced light like crazy? That's what's going to happen out here where you haven't powdered on her cheek. Because you've got primer, you've got moisturizer, and you've got foundation, and those are all liquid, like liquid to wet, correct? So then when we go in and pop anything that's got like a shimmer factor, such as sugar cakes, Sugar Crush, I'm obsessed with Sugar Pop. So when you put those onto skin that's very humid, it's going to bounce even more light. Our last move before our break is going to be all the illuminators. We're going to do a quick contour. And when I say quick, we're not going like to the nines contour. We are looking for this brush right here. This is your contour blush brush. I also want you to have on hand, if you have either the Micro Buffer or the Color Wash Genius, either one of these brushes for the nose. Again, less is more here. We're going with a little bit of grayish. Now you've got grayish in your contour palette and you have vanilla, right? Okay. What I see happen often is when people start contouring, they just go crazy. Like they put way too much product on their brush and like smash it to their skin, and then they have to blend for 6 years. And that after photo is a little stripy. So to avoid that, I have a hack for you. Are you ready for a pro tip?
Yes.
On your brush, I want you to mix vanilla in the top left-hand corner and grayish. Or if you like to look more sunny and sun-kissed, you can mix vanilla and butterscotch. By mixing it with vanilla, you're toning back some of the pigment, and it's not going to like deposit such a hard line. So tap off the excess, and before you pop any of this on your skin, watch me up here. I want like the least amount of pressure on the planet. Like pretend you have a newborn and you're doing their makeup. Like no pressure. Like they're sleeping and you can't wake them up because it will scream. Okay? So no pressure. I'm literally gonna go like light as a little feather. Go across the hairline. Okay. We're gonna use the taller part of the brush. So when you see the profile of the brush, you have shorter bristles and you have taller bristles. When you work with this taller section, you're gonna get a like thin, crisp line. So we're just gonna walk a little bit of contour towards the corner of her mouth and stop about halfway. Same thing over here. We're starting right here at the ear. So you've got this cute little nub thing by your ear. You're gonna start right about there and walk your brush towards the corner of the mouth. Stop about halfway. You can barely see that color, right? That's your goal. What's left on the shorter part of the brush, so like this stuff right here, we're gonna go underneath the jawline and scoop across and just put a really subtle contour underneath the jawline. Amazing. And then go back to this brush that we used for powder, and we're gonna blend with this guy. Okay, so a little back and forth motion. Very soft, natural contour. So whether someone is 5 feet away from you or 1 foot away from your face, it should not look stripy. Turn this way so they can see my motion. I'm just going back and forth with my brush and buffing this contour into her skin. While you guys are blending, tell me your ahas. So Crystal said that she was doing concealer then foundation and could never get coverage. Anybody else have that? When you start with a thinner product and then build to a thicker product is when you get the best coverage. So say for example, you're putting your concealer on. This is a thicker product. So you're laying on your coverage and then you're going over it with a thinner product. And the thinner product is like adding water to frosting. So it's gonna thin this out and then it smears off. So you start thinner, add the more potent, thicker product for coverage at the end, and then set it. Set it and forget it. Who else had an aha so far? So you can custom blend if you don't want a super hard contour, you can blend it with a vanilla. Any other ahas? So she's saying it looks more flawless by starting with a brush and then going in and blending. Another thing too is I don't think people hydrate this much before they put on their products or prime this much. It's the secret sauce. Next, we're gonna finish out our contouring with the nose. I know that I said to pull out either your micro buffer brush or your Color Wash Genius. And I want a smaller surface for you guys to be working with versus this guy. This is gonna be too big, in my opinion, to get a soft contour on the nose. So we're gonna flip into this brush. We've got a Color Wash Genius, or if you've got a micro buffer, very similar in shape. Again, mix your vanilla and your grayish for this move. Tap off the excess. The single biggest faux pas that we see in new makeup artists is that they over contour the nose and it really takes over the whole look on camera. So in the after photo, if the nose contouring is too dark, it can really skew your results. So I want you to be aware, add vanilla to your brush from the contour palette and make sure that you're not going too much dark color deposited on the nose. Cool? Now we're gonna do a quick nose contour today. Your goal right now is I want you to start about as high as like your tear duct. You want 2 totally symmetrical lines, like 2 symmetrical lines going down the nose, really hugging the like bridge of the nose about this far apart. If you go too wide, it's gonna make your nose look wider. So keep it nice and tight and soft. Don't go crazy. Watch me do it really quick. So I'm taking my brush and I'm going to hug the bridge of her nose, deposit some color down the side, same thing on this side, and get, I would say the space between, I want it like a ½ inch or less. Really nice and tight. Then on the bottom of the nose, just make a like a letter V underneath. Just a little bit of light shadowing to snatch the nose. Snatch it. Now keep in mind, the closer together you get those lines, the better of a result that you're going to get. If you make your symmetrical lines like, 3/4 of an inch apart or like more than ½ an inch, it makes your nose look wider. So keep it nice and snatched, closed. With your brush, swipe this brush off, your Color Wash Genius or your micro buffer brush. Get everything off the brush that you possibly can, because I don't want you depositing any more color. We're just blending now. So get everything off of there. And then, do you remember the eraser motion back and forth on the eye? Okay, same motion, but down the side of the nose. Just a brisk up and down motion, extremely light pressure, because we don't want to remove any of the powder or the foundation. We just want to kind of marry her contour into the skin below. Now, if you have a wider, nostril zone, you can take your brush and go to the side like this and minimize the nostrils. Make sure that you blend your V underneath, and we golden. I want you to think about the tip of your nose like it's like a scoop of ice cream, and the V is a cone underneath. So you're going to take your brush and go up and up. So it's like an actual V like this, and the tip of her nose is being held between the V. Does it make sense? Last thing is that we get to play with mineral icing sugars. Okay, what do you have in your arsenal currently? Do you have Crush, Cakes? Perfect. Okay, so the difference between them is pretty simple. Sugar Cakes looks like it's the lightest shade. It's almost an ivory. They all bounce light. So they're a mineral product. Very, very natural, amazing for your skin, super healthy, and when light hits it, it bounces light off. So Sugar Cakes is the lightest shade. Sugar Crush is the next, I guess darker you would call it, but it's not really dark. It just has a hint of rose gold to it, like a little jewelry trinket. It's beautiful. And then we have the brand new colors, which are Sugar Pop and Sugar Punch. So in your contour palette, you do have some options. You do have in front of you, if you want to use, there is a shimmering bronzer and a shimmering rose tone. So if you don't have the new ones, you still have frosting. Do not feel bad, okay? Feel good. But I'm going to show you the zone that you're going to pop in anything that's luminous or blushy and any pops of light. So let's start with adding color. Who's more of a fan of blush? Awesome. Where are my bronzer babes? You like them both. When it comes to the two new colors, who's got fairer skin and light colored eyes? You guys look best in the pink. Who's really fair but you got green eyes? So if you've got fair skin, like you burn in the summer and you've got green eyes, go towards the pinks. If you have green eyes but you get tan, or you have brown eyes and you get tan, go towards the orange. Just a little color theory. Okay, so we have the Sugar Punch. It's more of a